Okay, so now we're going to talk about converting data types from one data type to another. Again, in Python, we've seen this already. Please again look at the book. I'm looking right now at 117, but you'll see it's a pretty common deal. I want to sort of explain a little bit about what's going on page 117, but basically some of this code. So here we have a decimal. So um, what was this thing called? Sales, and it is assigned a value right away, which is a ridiculous value, but let's just whatever. 2574.98. And they're going through the extra effort to say this is money. So let's first of all put a semicolon there. Let's get rid of this. Let's run this. And so we don't see any big changes here. I've just basically grabbed it. Oh, I said sakes too, but I just grabbed a piece of a memory and I'm basically assigning that. That's awesome. Now let's make that sales because it's kind of gross. All right, so there's sales. What is the little squiggle telling me? It's a local variable. Oh, actually, look at that. Wow, cool. Again, smart enough to know that, hey, you're not actually using this thing. Why are you wasting my time? That's kind of what it's saying there. But anyway, and so now what I want to do is I'm going to keep this print line the way it is now, but I'm going to go and add another quick print line where I'm going to say, can you please write line sales? Let's see what this thing actually looks like. So let's go, and we run it, and awesome, right? So far, so good. So let's get rid of that. Now, what they're showing you there is how to maybe put a decimal into a string. So imagine I actually had a string message to, and I would like to assign it sales. Now, see how it's a little upset. It's a little upset because you can't just implicitly grab a string, which is its own data type and fairly complicated, and throw it into a decimal. That's what it's basically saying. You can't take a string and throw it. Right, so let me try it again. I can't take a decimal, sorry, and just throw it into a string. We're going to have to do something about this. So what's cool is that I want you to understand that these data types are objects. Okay, they are objects. And a lot of these objects, I don't know all objects, but a lot of objects, most objects have methods attached to them. And one of these methods is a conversion method called toString, right there, toString, right? And of course, like most methods, the reason why it's still underlined, you need to basically put the parentheses in there because maybe, well, pretty well all methods want to at least have the ability to take in a parameter. So anyway, so there's sales.toString. Notice the little squiggle went away, and I can go run again, and actually we don't really see any difference, right? So what I probably could have done to make that a little bit cooler is make the printout message 2. So I'm going to make the printout message 2. I go, and we don't really see any difference in the output, but we feel a little bit better now. We're basically printing a string. So that's just sort of an example of a conversion method. Now, another one that they're kind of showing us here is this parse. It's a parse. And so let me just make sure I'm getting this right. So they have a string, and they want to basically take the sales and parse it. So yeah, if you don't have your book in front of you, or you don't even have the book, let me try and explain what's going on. I'm looking kind of now at this code. So I want you to imagine that I've got, let's make sure I got this right. Sales to string is a string. Okay. Well, it's going backwards. Okay, so I get it. Imagine now I had a string, and I'm going to call this thing sales, even though I don't like Hungarian notation. I'm going to call it a string. And this string is going to be the string of 1234.56. Right? So that's a straight string. It'd be nice if I actually defined it first, define the data type. And now we're just getting the standard, hey doofus, we're not using this anymore. Why do you have it there? And so what I want to do now is actually, I tell you what, it would be really cool, going off of what I was going to say, but I'm going to just do this. Is what I'm going to do. Okay, so here's a string which just happens to have numerical data. Remember, in your forms and things, all those text boxes, those are all strings. So no matter if you put numbers in there, they're all going to look like strings. They're all going to look like that to your C# programs. Now I want to basically put this into the numerical sales here. How would I do that? Well, I could basically go decimal. Again, looking down there, making sure I got the right code there. I can basically say decimal that, right. So this guy is assigned, and I can use the decimal class, the parse method, and say, can you please parse the str sales? And put a semicolon. All right. So understand, I appreciate it's a little bit goofy because I got a string here. I'm going to convert it or parse it into numerical, and then in numerical, I'm going to convert it back to string. But again, we're just monkeying around with this stuff. We just don't want to see how it works. So let's go run, and most important thing is that it seems to look like it's working pretty well. Pretty excited about that. Awesome. We're going to look at formats in a second, but for now, I think that's pretty cool. And then there's another method here that we're talking about too that the decimal can do. So the decimal object can parse a string, and now it's assigning it to sales. But something that almost does the same thing is I can actually call decimal as a, oh boy, yeah, decimal. I can say, hey, decimal, can you try to parse the str sales? Can you try to parse that, please? And then shoot that out into sales, the sales variable. Boy, we just monkeying around with this like crazy. So what happens now is sales actually gets assigned here. So I tell you what, you know what we're going to do? We're going to just comment that out just so that the C program has just a little less stupidity to deal with. All right, so what's going to happen now is that we have a string which we populate there. We're going to say, hey, can you take that string? Can you try to parse it out and throw the value back out to sales? It's mad at sales because sales doesn't exist. So let's go up here and give ourselves a nice little decimal sales, but not assign it anything. All right, so now everything should be good. Let's go run. Oh my goodness, look at this. Look at this love. It's working like a charm. So one other thing I can kind of give you guys. So that was sort of the parsing methods that I was trying to show you there. Decimal. Let's do another one quickly. Int. Does that work? No, I don't want to go too far off of the book anyway. Not just for my own sake, but for your own sake. But they got a couple other guys down there, which are other more, they call them static methods of the convert class. So right now we've got the decimal class with this guy, but there's also conversion methods of the actual convert class. And what they're trying to show you with this one, and I'll just do one of them here. Actually, feel free, copy that, have fun with it. Let's imagine now I'm going to keep sales as decimal. I'm going to bring in that string. I'm going to kind of toss away most of that. All right. And so now it doesn't know what message 2 is, which certainly makes sense. And let me toss away that. Okay. So that's a simpler version now. Even the Hello World program, to be honest, we don't really need that anymore. All right. So picture a world where string sales, maybe it's a text box somewhere, has got that value in it. And you want to get that value into sales. So another thing that you could do is you could go, let's look down here again, make sure. I'd like you to go and say sales is assigned, and now use the convert class. So there's our convert class. Notice all these little guys, like the more common ones, base 64 to string, base 60, from to int and all that. We're going to actually use it to decimal right there, to decimal. We're going to say, can you please convert this str sales and what, str sales, actually that's good enough, to decimal. All right. And then at this point, I'm just going to say print the sales. I don't care about that. I get, by the way, an implicit conversion when I do this. So I'm going to go, and that's sort of another way to do that. What the book is kind of saying is kind of like, imagine that we actually have a text box. And that's, I'll show that when I'm actually doing conversion to text box. So I'm not going to bother showing that right now. All right, let's imagine though now we want to actually take currencies, take percentages, and either take numbers and convert them to strings or go backwards. All right. This could get a little hairy, and I may decide to break the video up for this, but you're going to want to look at some formatting codes. All the stuff is Googleable as well. So imagine now I've got sales in this story. That is my variable. It's a nice numerical variable. And what I want to do is when I print it out, I mean, that looks great right there. Everything's working fine. But I want this to have like a dollar sign in front of it. Now, a couple choices I could do. I could try to do this, but notice, well, I got away with it. All right, that's fine. I could try to do that, but I'm going to feel a little cheap. We're going to go a little bit cooler than just sticking dollar signs on it, because someone has kind of already thought this through. So I could have myself a nice string, which I'm going to call Stewart sales. Okay, and what is a string? It's going to be assigned the sales dot to string. Now, so far, you'll remember I did this already, and you're going to think, Grant, that's it's not really exciting. You showed us that a few seconds ago. What are you doing? Right. So let's just go that, do this, and wonderful. Right. That's not very exciting. But remember, I told you this guy could receive arguments, and one of those arguments is a C, and C will make it look like currency. Now watch what happens when I run this dude now. I get a free dollar sign, right? It looks like currency. Please don't ask me how to get pounds and euros and all that. That's a Google thing. For now, just imagine that currency is going to, in this case, equal dollar sign. Pretty cool. That's awesome. All right. What if I actually had that as a percent? What if this was actually meant to be, that would be a really big percentage. So let's do this instead. Let's go change the decimal a little bit. And we're going to take the money out, which is really not money at this point. So this is going to be 123. Oh, you're mad. Okay. All right. That's fine. All right. Anyway, and now I want that to look like percent. I can go P1, right? P1, and I can go. And now this guy rounded up, by the way. We'll talk a little later, or you guys can figure it out as to how to get the rounding to stop. But this became a 1%. It's rounded to the first decimal spot. So that's why you get your 5. Then I go over here. Let's go P2. Let's go again. And now we got 123.45. Awesome. Great. As you learn more and more on different languages, you'll just get more and more confused, but it's a good confusion because it teaches your brain how to think. All right, so that's kind of cool. So that there's a little bit of a discussion there. I think, by the way, one thing I didn't show you is when we're looking at a number like this. So this is now a fairly big number. I'm going to convert that back to C. Look what we get. We get, not only do we get a dollar sign, not only do we get the .00, even though I didn't have any decimals there, it assumed I want .00 because it's currency, but we also get a comma as well. So that's important to know. And then I think, okay, and I think the last thing that's kind of in the idea of how to convert a numeric to a string is what happens if you want to, you got some decimals, but you basically want to control how far the decimals are actually going. So here we go. Let's make you back to 1 again. Let's make you back to 1, and let's just basically make it a convert string. Okay, so it's going to take sales to string. I think this will just give me, yeah, it'll just give me that. All right, but I've decided what I want to do is instead, I want to round this to the second decimal spot. So one of the options I can put in there is an F for float, and basically say I'd like this to be to the second decimal spot. And I go. And so this guy will now automatically round to the second decimal spot. It took off the 4, 5 because 4 is less than 5. If I said, hey, can you please go to the third decimal spot, which is an example in the book, you go, and now we've got the 4 being rounded up to 5. Okay, so that was pretty exciting. I think I'm going to stop there, and then the next video I'm going to talk about going back. So how can you take take a string, I guess, and go backwards. I think that's what I'm going to do. All right, so that'll be it for that.